Hey scholars, Mr. Byrne here. Today we're going to be going over how to handle this guy. This is a Canon T3. This is the camera we use for most of the classes, and this is what your assessment will be on. And we're just going to start with how to put this thing together and then turn it on, import it, insert an SD card, and do things like that. So you'll notice we have three parts. This is the camera body. We have our lens. This is a kit lens, an 18 to 55 millimeter lens, and we have an SD card. So to start with, we're gonna go on how to attach and detach a lens from the camera. So to do that, we have our body cap. This just turns off, screws right off. Set that to the side. And we have our lens cap. And cool little thing that you can do is that these can go together for storage. Set that aside. So to put this lens onto this camera, you will notice on the front of the lens, on the back here, is a white square. You're going to see that same white square on the mounting ring here on the body. You just line those two up like so. And then you're gonna rotate the lens to my left, to your left as you're doing it. And that's how you attach the lens to the camera. To insert the SD card, you have your battery compartment lid right here. And you use using your finger, you pull that down and it opens right up. And in there you will find your battery, like so, and your SD card slot. So the battery comes out to charge the camera, so there's a separate component to that. You put this into the charger, and so when it's all charged up, you'll notice that the contacts are on the bottom there, and if you look inside, you'll see three little contacts as well. This will not go in incorrectly, so if I flip it the wrong way, like so, upside down, it won't even go in. It will go in backwards, but it won't go in all the way. It will get stuck. So it will literally only go in one way, and when you do so, you'll notice that the gray switch here will be compressed. To insert your SD card, label up. So if you're holding it by the lens, facing down, label up. You're going to use your fingernail, like so, to push it in. It'll click in. To remove the SD card, you do, again, using your fingernail, depress it and it'll pop out just like so. Now this also, it is possible to put this in incorrectly. So right now I'm trying to put it in incorrectly. It doesn't want to go. You could force it in there. Then we'll have to get a pair of pliers and you're gonna ruin your card that way. It should go in easily. So label up, nice and smooth. Close the compartment lid, and you are ready to start taking pictures. Now, in most cases, if you're just beginning, I would recommend you start in auto mode. Your camera is going to sensor the light, the available light that's around you, and it's going to then set the settings for you. As you progress in your photography knowledge, we will move on to the assisted shooting modes. So right now, if we turn on our camera, our switches right here are on and off. This is our mode dial. And then we have our shutter button, which is right here in front. This is what you use to take the photograph. To censor the light and also get it to focus, you want to make sure that your lens is set to auto and that your stabilizer is on. So when I depress the shutter button halfway, so just give it just a little bit of pressure, it's going to measure the light. Now I measured the light in this room and thought, hey, you need a little extra light. I'm going to turn on the flash for you. So if I take a photo, that's going to flash and it takes your picture. By depressing the shutter button halfway down, you can also, you'll see a little red reticule inside of your viewfinder here. It will focus on that point wherever you point it at. So make sure your image is in focus, because that's one of the things we want is focused images, and you take your photograph. All right, for your assessment, you're going to be asked to adjust your settings on the exposure triangle. So that means you're going to set your ISO, your shutter speed, and your aperture. You're going to set those three things for us. So to do that, you are going to change the mode dial right here to M for manual. And one of the cool things is, if you have your display turned on in the back, as you change your mode dial, it tells you which mode that you are in. So starting at shutter priority, aperture priority, and now manual. So for your assessment, you're going to be turning this to manual, and you're going to be adjusting the exposure triangle. To adjust your ISO, you'll notice you have your directional keys on the back of the camera here, and the bottom one says ISO. Sorry, the top one says ISO, and when you push ISO, it gives you some options. So starting at auto all the way up to 6400, each assessment will be different. It'll say set the ISO to 200, so we'll do that. The way you do that is you can use your directional pad, like so, and then click set, or you can use your main dial, which is right here, to toggle through your options as well, just like so. All right, so we want to be on ISO 200. We are going to push set, which is in the middle of your directional keys there, or your cross keys. So that's how you set your ISO. The next thing you need to adjust is your aperture. In order to do that in manual, you have to push this button, AV. And you'll notice that there's a box here that is going to switch from, right now it's on shutter speed, to your aperture. So for example, we're gonna set it to aperture 5.6 for this example. So I'm gonna hold down the AV button here, and then I'm gonna turn the main dial until this number says f5.6. And right there, so it says f5.6. Now you'll notice as I push and release this AV button, it's going to toggle from our shutter speed to our aperture, just like so. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the last thing you're gonna do is adjust your shutter speed. For that one, it's already gonna automatically be on shutter speed. You just need to turn your main dial left or right. So in this case, I want to set it to 1/200th of a second. So by turning this, keep going, there we go. You'll notice it's at 1/200, so 1/200th of a second. That's how fast that there's this gate in the back of the camera that will move, giving you a sharper image. And then that's it. So that's gonna be your assessment. So your lens cap, so all these pieces are gonna be in different pieces, and you're gonna have to put all of this together and then set it. You're gonna show us that you can actually. So you're gonna be taking the parts of the camera and the lens, the body, and then you're gonna be putting those together, inserting an SD card correctly, and then you're gonna be setting the exposure triangle settings for aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. So this is a pretty easy one, but you have to know how to do these things in order to use the camera. Have a great day, scholars, and I look forward to taking some pictures. Bye.